It's all torqued up on the head now, so the next stage is pretty much putting all the ancillaries back on and timing it up. So what I've got to do now is make sure the cam is in position on the back here. There's a little mark which you probably can't see at the moment, but there is a little chunk out of the actual cog which lines up with a point on the head there. So that tells you when, that's what you set it to, top dead centre. The bottom end is set to top dead centre, and obviously I set that before I put the head on as well. I made sure all these lines corresponded, you know, lined up before I took it apart as well. So next thing, that has a locating key on the back sprocket, so you know that is on the mark there, and then the fuel pump will correspond with that, but that's in a bit. So this doesn't actually have a key, this just basically slots on and goes in any direction. So what we're going to do is put that on and just screw that up loosely, but so it's got hold, so it just goes onto the taper, and then you can still rotate it, because we'll put the belt on and then get it on the best fitting tooth basically, so it all lines up. And then, because it doesn't matter so much where this cog is, just so long as the cam is in the right position. So that's the next thing. I'll just go get the belt. So fuel pump belt, well, that can be put over there for later. The main belt, what is, I don't know whether it makes much relevance, but what I've always been sort of taught, and it's sort of a good thing to keep in mind, is put it on so you can read the writing, as in from the front of the engine. Then when you take it off, you always know which way, in case there was something that you had to, well, there'd be no reason for it now, but if there was some reason that you had to take the belt off at any point, but you still had life in it, like it hadn't done all the mileage, then you know, basically just to put it back on the way the writing is. So just round the bottom there. So it is a bit nice and awkward. So that just pulls back round like that, so you can sort of ease the belt on. He says, when he's struggling to do it, always put a knee in. So then that's that on there, just make sure it's evenly on. And then you can let that go. So that now, the bottom end is timed up. We know the cam's timed up back here, so then that can just now be tightened up in the position, and then once that's gone onto its taper, it won't move, and then we know we're all good. And then obviously rotate it a few times just to check, do the full cycle that it's not touching anything before you actually go and crank it over, but that'll be a lot later when we get it in. So then we want to tension it up, so you can just about get quarter of a turn, so it's nice and firm basically. So it's about there, and then, because that's just me pulling up now, and then just tighten it with this, just lock it off. There, and then that's it. Cam belt fitted. And then I just need to torque that to the settings now, which I've got in my online manual that I downloaded. Online that says that's 45 Newton meters, so that's to it now. And then I can, well, just give it a full rotation, just to check nothing's touched, well, a couple of rotations. Then I can line the pump back up once it's all set up to top dead centre, line the pump back up. Then there is a preset in the back, but that pump was to the marks, so if you were putting, like, or if it was running badly, you put a dial gauge in the back and basically get the actual pump settings. So in the back of here, once it's timed up, and then you rotate the pump to put a preload on it, so we know we're in the right position because it was bang on the marks. It's nice just to feel she's all, compared to how loose it was to turn over when I took it apart, how tight it is now. So when it gets running, so far we haven't touched any valves, so that's a positive. We'll go 4 rotations. So that's 2 now. So that should be on that mark there. Check, yes, we're on the mark there. Slightly more. We're on, yeah, perfect. So all the way around, 4 rotations. We've landed bang on the mark there, bang on the mark there, so not touching anything either, so we're all good.